Yo, what's up, studs? What's going on here? Can all hear Bulls on Wall Street, guys? We got things to do, man. Big market day today. Once again, QQQs, trender, grinder, all day. This market's just been gangbusters. You know, we had a flag pattern on the QQQ, and we had a weak open, which is the ideal type of open when you have a hot pattern on the daily. And then you totally ramped out, and we trended off pretty much the whole day. This is the type of trending that you want to, where you have a handful of pullbacks that you can get long on, along with an opening thrust. So the trading action was fantastic in the QQQs. There was some weird stuff happening with the rebalancing news, where you did have like a dump in NVIDIA in the morning and Apple, and then they kind of rebounded back into the close. And I think that was just everybody was searching around for news, and then around 12, traders start circulating some reports of some rebalancing thing. But for the most part, we haven't been trading this stuff really at all, and it's been years back onto my life getting rid of Tesla and NVIDIA because there's so much other stocks to trade. So fantastic day. We had some huge rippers at the open in the calls on snow. These things doubled. I mean, I hit this almost at the opening tick. They almost doubled in 10 minutes. I didn't keep it for the whole game, of course, but yeah, we had a really nice run on AMD too. You can see these bad boys. They ran from $1.52 to $4.50. So awesome market, great. You can trade boring stuff like AMD and still shred. So now let's see what the heck we do for this coming week. We got CPI tomorrow, guys. We got CPI tomorrow. If it surprises, say CPI comes in hot, a little bit hotter than expected, and the market opens down weak, most likely it gets bought up. And the reason I'm thinking that is just based on Friday's action. When those employment numbers came out strong, the market opened off weak, they shrugged it off. Theoretically, those employment numbers coming out strong should have not been good for the market, because if the employment is too strong, they're not going to cut rates, right? And it got shrugged off. So right now we have a trend. We keep thinking it could roll over, but it hasn't shown us any signs of it. You don't want to step in front of the bus, right? This is like a big bus that we're stepping in front of. If you just look at this, if this was an individual stock, not the market, take out all your opinions of this, right? If this was just the market, a stock, and you saw this, you don't know what ticker it is, you've never seen this, what would you think? Bullish, right? So let's not try to add too many of our own narratives. I have my own narratives, and I have to constantly talk myself out of them too, right? We all read, we all watch the news, we all hop on Twitter, right? And we all have these things that formulate in our heads, but the price action is not showing us deterioration to the point where we'd want to get short. If this was just a stock, right, you would be buy this shit, right? So, moral of the story tomorrow, if we get any dips into the Qs, say the CPI comes in hot, we get any dips down into any of these kind of levels of support down here, I'll probably add some fibs that Levi does into these kind of supports on my thinker crap. Then, dudes, that's probably too many lines, but yeah, if we get a dip down into some support, I think we start looking at that we start looking at potentially long in. If we get a monster gap, we may have to leave it alone or possibly even fade, right? So, that's something we'll have to be mindful of too. There is a sell the news type of setup that is emerging, but once again, we don't have the evidence of it, but that's a possibility. Let's take a look at the watch list in a second, but first I want to just show you IWM. See, this is only up 0.2%, but you've got a nice flag pattern developing here on the daily chart, right? Just a push, sideways consolidation, nice and orderly, right? There's not any fugazis, nothing, no double Lutzis showing. We just got good, God-fearing Christian consolidation right now. This is good stuff, guys. This is what we want to see, right? It's interesting when the market gets bearish, everybody's I can't wait till the market turns, right? And then when the market turns, everybody's yeah, but the economy is so bad, right? And then nobody wants to believe it. We've got to disassociate ourselves. Like, we're just looking at this from a chart perspective. We don't see any deterioration in the tape yet. Let's take a look at the watch list. And this watch list will have to change because it'll probably have to change on the spot at some point because of the CPI. Like I said, if we get like some 2-3% gapper type of thing, I doubt we would get to 3%. But say we got like a 1.5% gapper or something like that, we may have to fade off at the open for a hot second, see how the first pullback happens, see if we start to marinate at some ranges, and then, potentially look at some other type of plays. But that's a far off thought at the moment. Lately, we've been having weak opens and going red to green, so that's really the ideal scenario, and we'll play it from there. Let's take a look and see what the heck we got into our watch list here. Hold on here. Let me add this bad boy going. 12-12, bam. All right. So let's put this in order here. I really like the Shake Shack, so let me say something about this Shake Shack. I think some of these oh shit, it doesn't click when I got the loom on this thing. Hold on, let me add this thing over here. So the Shake Shack, I like this, going back to this. The reason I like this is because in the moment right now, all these kind of like untalked about stocks that like we haven't been thinking about for a long time, like DocuSign, right? Like these kind of names, right? Zoom, DocuSign, like these were like the hot ones so long ago, right? And then they became unhot. But like, if you see like, right, what was the hot name today, right? DocuSign. Like, look at this thing, right? It's up, 10%. If you look at the options on these things, I mean, look at this crap, right? 400, 500, 600, 700%. These are the kind of moves we want to be a part of, right? Stuff that has been unloved, untouched, right? That is building out these bases. And so I'm into the Shake Shack. It trades a little bit thin like snow, but it's got the potential in it because, it's coming off, right, this huge pull. You got this big base. And even just recently it was at $80. Right, with McDonald's and all these things being so strong, this has got a chance on it. All right, so I want to add this bad boy in. Penn had finally a good day, first big day I've seen in a long time on this one. We've got a range break setting up here, and not many of these kind of stocks left either. Right, so you got this pull back, right into the range break. Nice cheese on this thing, 7% today. A little bit of an outlier for what it normally does. I like the overall look of this. I think this is probably, we get a weak open on this red to green. I think we can go. This ATSI's got a flag pattern developing here. It looks kind of like lift today, and it's right at the 200-day moving average. If we kind of cleared this spot right here, that's gonna, you can see here, this is like just a little bit of a kind of cup and handle, a little bit of a flag, all of that in one on the hourly, and a flag pattern on the daily. And the 200 SMA, like that's, you got multiple things going for it. This has got a good look to it. You can see the volume creeped up a little bit today too. Good 5%, 6% range. 6% range on Etsy, like that's pretty good. I think we want to be a part of that. Let's talk about semis. A lot of semis got a breakout look to it. So you got to aim at. This is a breakout look, right? Sometimes we get so focused on NVIDIA, we forget these other ones, right? Like AMD was hot today. People obsessed with NVIDIA, but right, AMD was the one that did the show and go today, right? AMAT moved 5%, right? So why are we always looking at the other ones? So this one, AMAT, I just got to show you a couple other semiconductors just so you can get a gauge of really what's happening here. Cackalack, right? You got this huge push. You got a flag pattern here. This thing was up 5% today, right? Got a nice breakout over here setting up. You got LR, CX. I won't trade these two. They're probably a little bit thin for me. Too much spread. But dude, look at this thing. That's a beauty. Like if I'm 50 years old and I'm looking for something a little bit more steady, a little bit slow, I'm digging into this thing, man. That ain't so bad, right? And you know what? Like you can always juice it with. Right, you can always juice these things with some calls if you need to. Let me see. Right, look at this. 300, 400, 400, 500, 600. Like, this is LRCX. Like, nobody trades this shit, right? Now, it is a little bit thin, so you don't see even much liquidity in the calls, but some of them do. So just something to kind of keep in mind too. These semis look, and I'm just showing you these because they can be traded, but the overall sector is breaking out, right? Sometimes we're just so thinking NVIDIA, we forget all these other beautimous ones. So AMAT, I've traded this one well over the years. I'm going to add this one. AMD's a daily trader. Keep both of those. I think Chewy's got a nice spot going. So you had the kind of climactic earnings drop. It ran into support. You had an intraday reversal, an inside day. Now you're coming out and you're going to take out this range. Up 5% today. Once again, for a retail stock, it moves 5-6% a day. That's good range right there, right? That's all you can ask for. That's got good range on it. I like it. This big is a retail stock, right? I mean, this is like, if you're Indian, baby, you grew up at Big Lots. We support Big Lots, right? We support Big Lots. All Indian people. We're not just running your tech companies. We're taking those profits and we go to Big Lots and we have ourselves some fun. Love Big Lots here. Probably a little bit more of a swing stock, but got a good look. It may need a day to tighten that 9 EMA, but broskies, right? That's a good stuff. Look at Intel here, right? This is another semiconductor. Dudes, you got some nice quesos here. Like, it's not a fast stock. You'd have to juice this with some calls, but one test, two tests, three tests. You got a nice breakout setting up over there. Like, you've got all sorts of good stuff here. I added a couple of these kind of bottoming bottoming solars on. I got Shoals in this one. They both got like a really, really tight range. I suspect if the market gets heated tomorrow and the rest of the week, people are going to try to come in and push this one and then push the old Shoals here, which is kind of sitting on a dead bottom. I think the Aries got a little bit more liquidity and a little bit better location, but they both got similar looks. This one's just under its MAs, the other one is over its MAs, but very, very similar, like coil pattern. The tightening and compressing of range is always key. And then I'm going to add you a couple more here that I think could be ready to party. We had a rest day. I would consider this an inside day on ARMS. You got the big trending day, and then a narrow range day here. It was down a little bit more than what I'd like to see in an inside day, but it still constitutes as an inside day. And with the rest of the semis going, right? How can this one not break out, right? It's got it, right? It's got it. So let's add that one. Old CVNA had an inside day, so you got this big push. This is an inside day. Inside day means it's inside the previous day's bigger range, right? So it's like you thrust, you chill, it's a little hibernation, you're building up some steam, right? You're just marinating on that hibachi grill, building up that steam. And so we go, I'm thinking maybe 40, 85, then 4150. Probably tomorrow, it's like week open, red to green, first trigger, second trigger, third trigger. In this market, you can kind of scale up into some things and scale in and out of these bad boys, of course. But I think those are going to be the tops. And then, add in ARM. And then I like this one too. Inside day on SWTX. This is probably one of those ones that can explode. Low flow. It's not really talked about much. These are the names that can really get sneaky, right? It's like Sava, right? Sava's a big turd. Nobody was talking about it. Then boom, right? All of a sudden you get a couple just of huge days here, right? I had this on my watch list in the morning. Get red to green, $4 range. Previous day, it had $4 range. Like see this like compression right there? Yeah, it's a turd. Everybody knows it. Nobody cares, right? In a hot market, the smelliest ones end up going up the most. That's just the way it goes. I'm not saying this SWTX is a big turd like Sava, but sometimes these ones that are just not moving along, consolidating, that people are not talking about, like Tesla, right? Like everybody fucking wants to trade Tesla. Hey, there's other stocks out there. Get a grip. We can do this, right? There's so many good movers out there. I'll tell you, I personally, I traded these high beta stocks for the last so many years. But man, this year, they're so expensive. The range gets up. A lot of people talk about them, so they give you FOMO, right? Because it's like everybody's just saying NVIDIA, and Tesla. And sometimes there might not even be like a big daily pattern on them, but because it's just like the chatter's there and they have so much range intraday in terms of points, not percent, and the options are going crazy on them and stuff like that. And so we get carried away. We force trades in them. I was doing that. I make always good money on AMD when I trade it, but I think I was like telling to my students, like, it's like I'm down like 18 G's on NVIDIA in the last like 2 months, and it's not the end of the world. Like, it's like the rest of my trades have been really good, right? This damn stock, it's like so, the range is so big, I'm all, right? It just always catches me a little bit off on target, on entry. There's something about it, right? And so, man, I've been crushing it because I've been trading stuff like, that are more mid-cappy, right? Still large caps, but, not necessarily the ones that everybody's talking about. Takes a little bit of stress off. You get a little bit more range. I think that's, pretty good. And then, of course, Path of Gods, we've been watching this one for breakout. It just, man, this thing kind of moves slow, so I don't know if I'm going to day trade this one. I'm watching this thing, and it's like it's kind of a little bit of grinder. The ATR on this, check out this. The ATR per 5-minute candle is like 6 cents, right? So, yeah, when it breaks out, it'll expand to maybe 10 cents, but it's still like it's not a scalper type of stock, right? And I've been watching this IoT too, right? You got the breakout, pull back into support here. This IPO breakout, this thing, you really should keep an eye on this. Like, very few IPO breakouts, and then this, right? You get a nice consolidation on this, like it's ready to go. Guys, chill out. We may have to flip out the list tomorrow, depending on how the CPI moves. Now, is it going to have to be anything that drastic? I doubt it. The CPIs have not been giving us as much movement as they were, right, a few months ago, or a year ago, right, or a year and a half ago, or so on and so forth. So, CPI, way more powerful. The Fed meetings, interest rate stuff, way more powerful in the teeth of a bear market and stuff like that. As you start to kind of trend and grind the other way, they don't have as much impact, as much volatility, as much velocity. So just kind of keep that in the back of your heads too. Guys, let me know if you need anything. Peace.